Hey, welcome back. For a competition shooter, bringing a new bullet online is a major investment. We buy huge lots of bullets at a time to prevent lot number shifts in our component supply. In doing that, we invest a lot of money at one time, and if a bullet doesn't work out, we're going to take a major loss. I have bullets still sitting here from prior experiments that I still haven't been able to remarket from 4 or 5 years ago. Nobody wants them. So the safest thing to do for a competition shooter is to go buy a box of whatever you're going to try, one of those 100 count boxes, and just go see if it's going to work out for your rifle. If it does, great, you can buy that huge lot afterward. If not, you've only invested $50, $60, maybe even $70. So today's video, in the context of a competition shooter, is how to assess a new bullet very quickly and with the least number of rounds and the least barrel wear possible to determine if you even want to do load development on it. Now, the candidate for today's video is the 156 EOL from Berger. I've heard good things about this bullet. A lot of PRS shooters are shooting this bullet now in the 6.5 Creedmoor and getting good results. The intelligence gathering process is part of this and determining what other shooters are doing with this bullet. I found out that several top-level shooters are shooting right around 2,700 feet a second with a comparable barrel length to mine. So I'm going to use that as my baseline for this bullet for today. Before we can ever get to 2,700 feet a second, we have to work up slowly from a safe starting charge. Always do that. Even I do that. With that public service announcement out of the way, let's talk about how we're going to assess this. We're going to load just 10 rounds of whatever charge we've chosen of that bullet and of our previous bullet that we know something about. Then we're going to go out to a known distance range and shoot into an electronic target. Electronic targets, by their very nature, report velocity, and that's going to give us one end of the equation. The other end is our lab radar or Garmin that we're going to put right next to the rifle. We're then going to write down our muzzle velocity and our impact velocity for each and every shot over a string of anywhere from 5 to 10 shots. We're then going to calculate whether the difference in BC between the two matches the difference in advertised BCs, if that makes any sense to you. And if it doesn't, whether the BC that you obtain through your barrel is sufficient to make it worth changing to the new bullet. At the same time, we're going to do a sensitivity check. What we're looking for is, does the bullet throw weird flyers? Because at 600 yards, if it's throwing anything bigger than 6 inches, you probably don't have a bullet that you really want to play with. On the other hand, if it's shooting relatively small with a charge that's not even in the node, you probably have a good bullet to work with. So let's take a quick look at the results I got on my initial test comparing the 140 hybrid, which is unpointed, to the 156 EOL, which I have not done anything to either. The advertised difference in BC between these two bullets is 11%. Now, we're going to have to consider stability in this equation because it isn't super hot out and we're not at high altitude. We only have a 7.83 twist barrel, and normally I would run the 156 through a 7.5. So we're a little shy on twist, not a lot, but we want to make sure that we consider that in our evaluation. Because we're already halfway through this barrel, we're going to have another one chambered. If we're going to go to the 156, we're going to increase the twist. So our initial assessment is actually positive. The 156 definitely has a higher BC of approximately 7% greater than the 140 hybrid. Now, there's another consideration to make here, and that is the meplat, the pointy end of the bullet. How big that is right out of the box. By comparison to the 140, the 156 is huge, which means that pointing the 156 is going to have a much greater effect than pointing the 140 does. We can increase the BC of the 156 by at least 3%, like we found on the 140, and probably a little more, up to 5 or even 6%. Which could make a real difference in our total BC and might make it worth pointing. But that's a subject for a different video. Now, BC isn't everything. We're also checking something else here, and that is absolute precision. We're going to shoot a group of each somewhere near the node, hopefully not terribly into the scatter node, and just see if the bullets want to group. We're not asking them to do something miraculous. We're just looking to see if they're going to stay somewhat close together. Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is it groups reasonably well. So what specifically are we looking for in the groupings? We're looking for flyers. We don't want something that's going to group 2 or 3 in one spot and then the 4th and 5th 5, 6 inches away. That would be a real negative for a bullet, and certain bullets do that. So from that information, with only 10 rounds through the barrel, I can say that the 156 is worth load developing to see what we can get out of it. It might be my next 6.5 Creedmoor bullet. If it does load develop well and does show stability in its load development, then we will go to this bullet for the subsequent barrel. because I already own all of the bullets necessary to wear out my current 6.5 barrel, and they all happen to be 140 hybrids. All right, guys, until next time, shoot straight, choose your bullets wisely, and test them. And I'll see you in the next video.